Hello, and welcome to the Parker Files, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Hot Toys Rocket MMS 548. This is the third version of Rocket, and it's from the movie Avengers Endgame. From the artwork on the packaging, Hot Toys did a great job combining the branding of the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy. I really like how they incorporated the Avengers logo and some spacey layering into the image of Rocket. What stands out as odd in the artwork, though, is the picture of Rocket himself. While the image looks really good, with some nice feathering in the fur and details in the eyes, the picture isn't of the figure itself, and the expression on the face, well, it isn't the expression we get on the head sculpt. The outer sides have cutaways that reveal both the Avengers logo and the one for the Guardians. The back incorporates more of the Galaxy layering, and I really like the look of it. Pulling off the outer box reveals the Guardians logo on the front. On the back of the box, as always, we get the credits to the cast and crew who bring Rocket to our shelves, and a large faded Avengers logo. Alright, enough about the packaging. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Here we have Rocket out of the box, and I have to say, this is the Rocket I've been wanting on my shelf. I have the Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but in my opinion, this one is far superior. Not just because it is more comic book accurate, though that's true, it's because of some of the things it covers up, literally, that the other one didn't. In the previous version, both the arms and feet had visible joints, and for me, those really stand out. And yes, even though these are toys, and yes, I know these are toys, I don't like being reminded of that by unsightly joints. Speaking of differences between the previous version and this one, on the Guardians 2 version, his mechanical bolts on his back were visible on the neck. This version doesn't have that. I'm not sure if they just left that out because of the scarves and thinking they wouldn't be seen, so what's the point, but I really like that attention to detail on the previous version. The material on the outfit is a nicely textured rubber style material. I'm not sure how durable this is, and I guess only time will tell. The contrast of coloring between the lighter and darker blue and the maroon looks really good. The details in the arm gauntlets, shoulder pad, belt, and holsters are really well done. The knee pads are quite loose. They slide around a lot when moving the figure, but they can be put into place really easily. They don't move when posed, but as you are posing, be sure to pay attention so that they don't get caught under the lower band of the holster. The articulation on the upper body is nice, with the material being forgiving and allowing for good arm movement. However, the legs are a different story. The upper legs have next to no give, which is a shame, especially seeing as how from the knee down, we get a full range of motion, even in the toes. With the lower body's limited range of motion, I'm not sure why they added this split toe. It seems to be a useless feature, at least to me, and it's a little unsightly on the flat foot position from certain angles. The paint application on Rocket looks great. His tail really shows the layering of a raccoon's tail, Trash Panda's tail, and the head sculpt, well, that's the point of contention for a lot of people. Personally, I really like this head sculpt, and I actually give it a 10 out of 10. Yes, it's a reissue of the previous version with a new paint application, but what most people are upset about is that we didn't get a second head sculpt with this version, and that it limits posability. And that's a fair knock on this release, but it doesn't bother me. Mainly because I would always choose to use this sculpt anyways, so I would most always pose him with guns and not the other accessories that he comes with. In terms of accessories, for such a little figure, Rocket comes with a lot. Let's start off by talking about the pairs of accessories he comes with: goggles, guns, and scarves. Here we have Rocket with his first pair of goggles that go on top of his head. They're magnetized and quickly snap into position, but be careful when swapping these out with the other ones, as I snag some paint around the eyes when putting the other pair on. The magnets are different on both pairs, so it's really easy to tell which ones go where. The details on these goggles are really good, and to me, this pair looks better, and I'll get into why when we look at the next pair. The molded version of the scarf looks really awesome, and this is my favorite out of the two scarves. The sculpt and paint app look really good, and it fits the coloring of the rest of the suit really well. The smaller guns fit nicely into the holsters. I personally like that there's a little more room than needed, so I don't have to worry about any of the paint rubbing off. Every version of Rocket comes with awesome, well-sculpted, and well-painted guns, and this first set is no different. They're the same mold, only reverse-sided. The paint app is great on these, with a mainly silver gun with some gold and maroon fine details. The barrel of this pair has a really nice blue on the end as well. This fabric scarf is nice to have, but I could have done without it. The coloring is good, and I like the phrase on the ends, it's just that it's too limited. Even though it does have some wiring in it, the way they stitch the two pieces together, you can really only move it but so many ways, and unless it's out like this, it doesn't hang really well when laid flat. Some people may really like this accessory, but it's just not for me. The same is true for these goggles. My issue with these goggles is the lack of band is more noticeable in this pose. When the goggles are on the top of his head, I can get by without it because I can see that the band could be hiding in his fur more naturally than I can see that in this pose because of where the line of where they should be falls. Not a big deal though, because for me, when it comes to accessories, I only care about the ones I intend to use, and these, though they look great, won't be how I would choose to pose him, so I actually didn't even need these ones. But enough about goggles. Let's get back to what Rocket does best. Guns. These two look fantastic. Like the other set, these are the same sculpt, only mirrored. I like the paint application better on these two than I did the smaller ones. The silver seems just a little more shiny to me, and the gold accents are a little less prominent, but really well placed. One thing you can see in this pose is a little of the shoulder pad articulation. It's not completely restrictive, but it is limiting. Rocket's accessories come in twos: 2 goggles, 2 scarves, 2 sets of guns, and 2 movie-specific props. The first of which is the ether extraction device. I don't intend to pose him with this, but I guess it's cool to have. The sculpt is really good, and a nice silver paint app really lets the red color look more vibrant. In certain light, it has a nice darker tint or glow to certain areas, which really look movie accurate to me. The other movie prop Rocket comes with is this nano gauntlet. I'm not sure why Rocket came with this, but I'll take it. I don't intend to have Rocket pose with this, but I can see this having a home elsewhere in my collection. The detail on this is fantastic. The sculpt is really well done, and the details in the paint really make this accessory shine. Since it's hollow, I think this would have went over the top if it could have lit up, but I don't know exactly how they could have pulled that off. It's okay though, the color of the stones stand out really well by themselves. What I would have preferred over the light up feature though, would have been if they had added a hole in the inside for a wrist peg. It's already hollow, so that would have been a nice feature to be able to have someone wearing it. Out of all the characters in the MCU, Rocket isn't an A-list character, and yet we have 3 versions of him. And out of all 3 of those versions, I have to say, this is by far my favorite. Some may take issue with the size of the weapons being smaller and less eye-catching, and some others may be bothered by the fact that there's only one head sculpt with this release. And I can see the merit in both of those frustrations, but for me, the positives far outweigh the negatives. I would have posed Rocket with this head sculpt regardless, and I really like these weapons. But more importantly, the clothing choice of this figure to me is far superior than the others. The moment I saw the trailer for Endgame, I knew this was the Rocket I wanted more than the one that I already had. So, all in all, after looking at Rocket and everything that he comes with, I'd rate this figure a total 8.5 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you want to stay tuned for more. If so, take a second and hit that subscribe button. There'll be more 6-scale figures and diorama reviews coming your way. Until then, stay safe and collect because you can.